Hi, everybody. This is day 7. The article is entitled How California Got More Children Vaccinated After the Disneyland Measles Outbreak. So, this is an expository text, which I have marked because it just gives facts. It's not a persuasive piece, it's just an article that was written in order to convey the facts about what happened in California after they had an outbreak of measles in a Disneyland theme park. So what I did for paragraph 1 was I just bracketed it and I wrote central idea because it's really what the article is going to be about. And so the first paragraph just gives you a little bit of background about how in 2015 there was an outbreak, and as a result of that, they've seen an increased rate of vaccines in California since then. So I just went through, and you'll notice this article is broken down into nice sections. There's what does the new data show? Why did vaccination rates decline? What turned things around? So this author chose to use the organizational strategy of posing questions as subject headings, and then the question is answered in the lines that follow. So I just highlighted some of the information as far as the data of how many children, how many kindergartners were vaccinated year over year. So you could see that they have had an increase in the number of vaccines. I also highlighted information about the Disneyland outbreak being the reason why they've had such increases, because if you look at the data year over year, compared to before 2015 and after, they did see a rise in vaccination rates. Why did the vaccination rates decline? This was an important part that, the author was not trying to be persuasive, just give you the facts. And so the author does mention that in 1998, there was a study that falsely linked vaccines with autism. And even today, that study is 22 years old, but there are still people that believe in not vaccinating their children because they feel that there is a link between the vaccines and autism. But, this tells you that there was never a link that was found. But once a study like that gets out there, it's really hard to try to convince people otherwise, no matter how many times the study was retracted and found to be pretty false. So the next section is what turned things around, is that it talks about a law that was passed in California that got rid of the religious exemption. And this was just passed in New York this past September, which meant that prior to this law, parents could claim that there was a religious reason why they didn't vaccinate their children. But as of September of 2019 up here, and 2017 in California, you couldn't claim that exemption anymore on the basis of religion. On the next page, it goes on to explain this law in California. So I just took some notes about it. It says that all incoming kindergartners must be vaccinated, and then it says 7th graders as well. So for any children who are above the kindergarten age when this law was passed, it would eventually catch up to them by 7th grade. In order to attend school, they would have to receive all of their vaccines. So, this article does bring up the flaw with this system, which is that what if you're already past 7th grade? What if you're in 8th grade when the law came into effect? What if you're in high school, college? What if you're an adult and you've never been vaccinated? It does bring into play a lot of different issues. And then it just discusses, it says, are there still some warning signs? So the article discusses how there are still some places in California where the vaccination rates are below what they consider to be a safe number, which is 90%. And they say that once a vaccination rate in a particular area gets below 90%, it means that that area is really ripe to have the spread of a disease, because you have 10% or more of the population that haven't been vaccinated against it. The article does talk a little bit about how there's been a slight increase in medical exemptions. So a medical exemption would be if someone has suffered from some sort of an illness, or has a compromised immune system, or something that prevents them, an allergy, from getting a particular vaccine. They would then claim a medical exemption. So those children would not have to get those vaccines on the basis of a medical reason. And the data shows that those claiming a medical exemption went from 0.2% to 0.5%. So it's still a small number, but the article is just, saying that that number needs to be looked at just to make sure that people are not getting medical exemptions when they really shouldn't have them. So this article was expository, and the task that you had to do with it was just to outline, both sides. And so I wrote for the topic was vaccination rates in California. And, the yes side was really just promoting the reasons why vaccines are so important. The only thing I really found for the no side was that claim about, about the connection between autism and vaccines. But so I just pulled some of the reasons why, people believe that vaccines are important and rates are going up. So I just pulled the line: the percentage of California kindergartners with all vaccines is increasing every year. There was a state law that made it significantly tougher, for people to not get their vaccines. And then the last one is that the law requires that students entering, sorry, you can't see it there, entering kindergarten and then again in 7th grade get immunized. And then again on the no side, the anti-vaccine side, was just the recognition that there was skepticism that came starting in 1998 when a study was published that linked vaccines to autism, which was later found to be incorrect. But that was really it for the no side. So this author wasn't trying to convince you one way or the other. Of course, there was a lot of data about why vaccines are important, but this article was designed to just educate readers about what's going on in California and how this one outbreak back in Disneyland and this new law has helped to increase their rates of vaccination.